Tonight, I'm going to talk a bit about Canada's survival plan. Give my perspective of what it takes for a country to survive. Trump wants us as the 51st state, that's abundantly clear. Trudeau tried to sink us, and he wanted us a post-national state. He also made that abundantly clear. So, what's Canada gonna do to survive? Because I'm not American and I never will be. I love Americans, but I'm not American, I'm Canadian. And like I said in the previous video, Alberta is better off in all intents and purposes as the 51st state of the Union. Now with the rest of Canada, it's not. With the rest of Canada, we're going from the... If we're one state with the rest of Canada, that'd be just like jumping in from the frying pan to the fire. But there's lots of things that are better about Canada than the US. I know that's hard for Americans to imagine because they're in a great country, and rightfully so. They've done a lot right, and they're very short-sighted. They only see the United States a lot. I'm not saying that's true about all Americans, but they see the US and they see their great country. They aren't even open that other countries of it can actually do a few things better. And Canada definitely can. But our downfall is our leader. Justin Trudeau has failed us miserably, and the people who voted for him failed for us miserably even more. As far as I'm concerned, they're stupider than he is, but I hope they learned their lesson. Trump was downright serious about it, but they don't need our oil. And other countries do. And the fact that we're selling to them at a discount is stupid, for one. And number two, the fact that other countries want our oil and they're crying for natural gas and we're not selling it to them because we don't have the infrastructure, that's also stupid. First thing we gotta do if we're gonna survive as a nation is secure our borders. That's what Trump wanted. Trudeau has very lax, he has laxed up the immigration policy, it has actually caused a crisis here. There's been an increased number of homelessness because of a lot of people being let in equals lots of demands for homes, and of course because of our red tape, they're not being built fast enough, so the price goes up. So securing our borders is number one. And then, of course, fentanyl, even though there's way less of it goes in our border than Mexico. In fact, I'm willing to bet you there's more stuff going over the American border this way for drugs than the other way. Even so, it's another good reason to secure our borders. So if we're going to survive as a nation, we got to secure our borders. That's what Trump wanted initially. Let's give it to him. The second thing we must do is there's no more farting around. It's time to diversify our markets. The US may be our number one trading partner, but that's not going to last. We can see that. Anyone with a brain can see that. We have to find other markets. We need to build pipelines. We need to build infrastructure. Germany, Japan, and Greece have begged for natural gas. Of course, Trudeau wouldn't give it to him because he's all about being green. And the irony is, as far if the carbon theory holds water, which I believe it really doesn't, but even if it does, even if there is some truth to that, sending our liquefied natural gas to repower coal-fired power, it will have a greater impact on the environment than shutting down Canada's economy entirely, which is Trudeau's approach to a greener world. And that's enough of that. But as for infrastructure, Trudeau has spent enough money and just blew it that could have been spent here improving our infrastructure, building better highways, building pipelines, etc., etc. And also beefing up our military. That's the third point. If Canada is to survive as a nation, we need to beef up our military. Trump has proved that, and Trump has a point. Like, I'm not against Trump at all. He's doing his job. He is the president of the U.S. The American people elected Donald Trump to do one job, and that is put them first. And it's always been Canada last policy. It's always been Canada, Mr. Nice Guy with these frickin' liberals, and it's time for a change. We had a military second to none at one time in World War II up to the 50s, and it's not just liberals. I'm not just gonna pick on liberals, but conservatives too have shelled it pretty good. It's time to beef up our military again, because U.S. made it abundantly clear that they're not going to defend us always. We have to defend ourselves, and quite honestly, they're annexing Canada into the 51st state. That sounds just like an enemy nation. Now, I gotta qualify this a bit. It is number one, not all Trump is not trying to make enemies with us, okay? We've been taking advantage of the U.S. and we need to beef up our military so if we can defend ourselves against any nation as best to our abilities as we can anyways. Right now, we're spending more on Ukraine's military than we are ours, and that's completely wrong. We shouldn't be spending any. All you're doing is pissing off Russia by doing that. What Canada's doing is making enemies of everybody. And what Trudeau's doing is making enemies of everybody, even the United States. It's Trudeau that's making us an enemy nation to them. It's not the other way around. Trump has reasonable requests from Canada. Like Trump is requesting us to beef up the military and secure our borders so we're not so reliant on them. That's not unreasonable. And it's time we beef up our military. And we gotta protect our Arctic for both Canadian and American interests. We gotta protect the Arctic. Fourth thing, we gotta develop our resources better. Quebec, I said in the video, I showed the document, Quebec has banned the exploration of oil and gas. And in my mind, that should permanently disqualify that province from ever receiving another transfer payment. You shut down your resort, you shut down, then you don't receive. That's the way it should be, and enough freeloading. And this is for the people in Quebec, but how would you like to be an American state? You can guarantee the French will go out the window. And if you don't start working with Alberta and the rest of the country, that's what you're going to get, is you're going to end up to be a State of the Union, and Trump's threats aren't all that bad. I know it sounds controversial, but they're a real serious wake-up call for Canadians to get our shit together. And we need to work together. Energy East needs to go. Northern Gateway needs to go. LNG plants throughout the coastal areas of this country need to go. Help bolster our economy big time. Number 5. Absolutely no retaliatory tariffs. I believe that's what Donald Trump wants us to do. Well, he made it abundantly clear he needs nothing from us. All they'll do is just make him stop buying from us completely. No. We screwed up. We did not diversify our economy. We relied on one customer. We put all our eggs in the American basket. And now we're screwed. So in order for us to survive, to get from here to shipping stuff out, to diversifying more exports to other countries, we must not rock the American boat too much. We must just sell what we can to the U.S. and sell the rest to other countries. It'll be a boon for the whole country, and not only that, but U.S. just to trade with them. Like, it's not like Pierre Poilievre is right. It has been. We haven't been just taking advantage of them. They've been getting our oil at massive discounts. Our natural gas is sold for about 30% of what it would be to Europe, to what Europe would pay for it. Think of that. Americans are getting a good deal from us too. That's part of the reason why we got a trade deficit, is because they're getting a hell of a good deal from us. Number 6 is more value-added jobs for Canada. Build refineries here, and there is some things that retaliatory tariffs might be something to consider, but as a general rule right now, don't rock the boat. But that's true about the vehicles and the value-added stuff, though. Like anything that's that we can make in Canada should be made in Canada. If America is not buying Canadian, why should Canada buy American? We shouldn't. If Japan is willing to buy our LNG and trade other stuff with us, then we better just deal with more Japanese motor products and stuff like that. But there again, we got one between my mom and dad, and they have a whole bunch of vehicles, and I got the Dodge truck and the PT Cruiser and our business and stuff. All of those vehicles, there's only one made in Canada, and that is my mom's 2012 Toyota Corolla. So a Japanese brand is the only vehicle that's actually made in Canada that we got. Everything else is either made in US or Mexico. I agree with Doug Ford in the fact that that screw Mexico if we get another trade deal, which I'm not sure we will. I'm not sure Trump is willing to negotiate. He wants us. He's made that abundantly clear, and he's going to put economic pressure on so we become the 51st State of the Union. And Canada as a whole becoming the 51st State of the Union will be, as in my previous video, would be not only terrible for the United States, it'll be terrible for Canada too. Remember that we're in this mess because we voted Liberal, but also remember that the United States is just as prone to vote Liberal as we are. If they get Gavin Newsom or Kathy Hochul or someone like that, they'd be in just as much trouble as we are under Trudeau. And Trudeau is by far the worst prime minister we ever had, and the way he's handling Trump is proof of that. Like, to secure the border, we need funding. To get funding, you have to go through Parliament. Trudeau has prorogued Parliament, so he's basically shut down the legislative branch of our government just so he could get the Liberal Party better prepared for next election. That's treason, and he should be at least locked up for proroguing Parliament this time, because it was strictly self-interest. It was detrimental to the country. Number 7, in order for God to keep our land strong and free, we gotta get back to God. We do. We gotta get back to God. We gotta turn back to Him. That means we gotta repent of the evil we've done, and it's time we need a great repentance. We need to turn to God. We need to get God back in our schools and government. That's enough of this political correctness. That's enough of this woke BS. Trump is going the right direction in the U.S. when he said that the United States will only recognize 2 genders, male and female. He's onto something. And of course, Pierre Poilievre had to kind of, the way he handled it was a very Canadian way, but you could tell he believes it's the same thing. He's catching a lot of flack over that, but it's enough of this woke nonsense. This woke nonsense is what's ultimately sinking our ship. And if Canada was a godly nation, Justin Trudeau would have been completely unelectable. Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, all those would be completely unelectable. We need to turn back to God. We need to become godly again. It's God. We depend on God to keep our country strong and free and together. We have to turn to Him. Otherwise, He won't defend us anymore, and we are doomed to fail. And if we're doomed to fail, if we become a post-national state, which is, by the way, what Trudeau wants us to become, it'd be God's mercy we become the 51st State of the Union. It really would. We don't even deserve that. We need to get right with God as a nation. The number 8 key to surviving our nation surviving is a rollback on regulations. Yes, there needs to be some laws here. I'm not disputing that, but OH&S, the DOTs and environment have gotten completely out of control. There's need for some things, but the hassle and stuff has been insane. Like, it takes 10 years for a pipeline to get approved and stuff. That should never be. Roll the regulations back to maybe what they were in the 1980s, the late 1980s, and when there are a few common sense laws in place, and leave it at that. We got way too many. It's time to roll them back. If we don't roll this stuff back, it's a great deterrent for entrepreneurs and investors alike. We have to roll the bullshit back. We just do. Another thing that needs to be rolled back is building codes. They've overdone things so bloody much That's part of the reason we have a housing crisis, is because some of the codes are bloody stupid. Get back to common sense, cut the bullshit, and make Canada great again. Honestly, I know this is going to be controversial to say this, but in some ways I think Donald Trump is doing us a favor. But Canadians were complacent and they were happy being a middle power. They're not really interested in being a great nation, and that's got to change. If we're not a great nation, other nations will devour us. And hopefully it's the United States, if that, God forbid if it happens, hopefully it's the United States that does it. But we have a country worth saving here. We have the potential to be every bit as great as the United States, if not greater. We have some stuff about Canada is better than the US. We got the resources to be a richer and stronger economy than the US. We have what it takes. Like Trump, I'm going to play a clip of what he said.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained.
We'd have a better health care coverage, much better health care coverage that we have now. That's pretty rich. Got my dear friend I sent the care package to. She needs 6 chemotherapy treatments, and she's already had 2, and she's had 3, already had 3, but got billed for 2. And that bill for 2 chemotherapy treatments is $66,000. Now, in Canada, you won't get a bill in the mail. Okay? That'd be a real hard sell to convince us that we'll have better health care coverage than they do in the US. Because, quite frankly, it's a lie. We won't have anything with that. That is not better in the United States at all. Is the health care better? In many ways, yes. Although, in all fairness, every time I needed health care in Canada, it was provided with every bit as good a care as it would be in the United States. Every bit. That's not true of everybody's story, but my experience with the health care system, it is. They need improvement, yes, but at least I don't have bills to worry about. I don't have insurance to worry about. I don't have debt to worry about. That'd be a hard sell. And the truth is, yes, we have higher taxes. Are they 60% higher than the US? I really doubt that. But we do have higher taxes. And if Pierre Poilievre acts as the carbon tax, at least, and the capital gains increases and the liberal tax increases, that would make a big difference, make us more competitive. The United States is not a better country than we are. They're a great country, I'm not denying that, but they're not better than Canada. There's nobody, most Canadians will disagree to that. We're not better off in the US, and Trump better learn a little bit about Canada, because we're not. We are definitely not. We just have to fix the things we screwed up on, and the stupid left-wing idiot prime minister we got, his freaking green agenda. If we could reverse that, we gotta defend our country. We gotta protect our country. God bless you all. Catch you at the next video. Please like and subscribe.